So Wes, you mentioned you're not a huge vintage guy, and yet you've got in your possession, to me, one of the most iconic vintage Pateks of all time. And that's the reference 130, which is the watch that was created by the Stern brothers just 2 years after they took charge of Patek Philippe.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like their first step towards becoming the kings of complicated watches,
yes.
right? Like a few years later in 1941, they would create the 1518 and the 1526, world's first perpetual calendar chronograph and the world's first perpetual calendar. But this is such an important watch because this was the very first serially produced gentleman's chronograph.
Yeah.
Tell me about that, sir.
I mentioned earlier, I just absolutely love chronographs. I've kind of stalked these watches in books and on articles and whatever for many years, and was always fairly reluctant to travel down the road of finding one because of the size, because I'm big and whatever, and I just always thought, they're so beautiful, but I'm not, I don't need it. Then one afternoon, Jacek came to visit me. He had one, and I was like, just like, holy shit. And I picked it up and it's like, wow, it doesn't really look that small. And then I put it on my wrist and it fits perfectly, and I'm 6'3", 200 pounds, and this watch looks amazing on me. I was talking the other day with a collector at the Regep event. I don't remember what he was wearing, but he had a vintage Patek as well. And we were just both talking about, these days everybody, things are bigger and watches are just in general, they're bigger. So you look back at these things and you're like, they're 33 millimeters, like whatever. But then if you really stop and think about it, everybody was wearing watches that were this size at that time. So they were designed to be worn. They weren't designed to make you look like a dickhead with some tiny thing on your wrist. They were elegantly designed to be perfect. And this thing is just absolutely perfect. He had this one and it was in rose and it was properly just gone through, and Jacek is a very trustworthy individual, and so I just decided to get it. This, I do wear it a lot. Like I've been wearing it, I've been born in Southern California, so it's been hatefully hot here all summer, and I'll be walking around in Quicksilver shorts and a Misfits t-shirt with this thing on my wrist. I love it. I just absolutely love it. It's incredibly loud. Every time I'm wearing it, I kind of laugh because there's a Jay-Z line about him talking about his watches don't tick-tock. And I love that I can I'll have the watch across the room, and if it's quiet, it's like you can really hear it, you feel it, the winding, the pushers, the action on these pushers, it's like buttery and soft and smooth, and it's got that nice little, you can really hear it.
With a column wheel, it's phenomenal.
And the return is amazing, and it's just, is it the absolute most perfect example of this watch ever? Absolutely not. It's a watch that I wear, it's a watch that I love, it's a watch that's meaningful to me because of who it came from. I really am an emotional collector, and this one does it. So I had it for about an hour, and I had already ordered it came with a horrible strap. The ugliest fucking strap I've ever seen in my life. So I hit up my strap maker and how to make this beautiful sort of period correct lizard strap for it, and it's phenomenal.
It's funny, at 33 mm, I think the pendulum has swung back, and everyone's now looking at much more classic size watches as well.
Yeah, which is great.
This feels
I applaud that.
This feels perfect, this is one of the most successful watches that Patek ever launched.
Yes.
It was launched in 36. They made it all the way to 1964.
Yeah, that's an incredible stint,
right? What an incredible run. I think yours, as you were mentioning, is from the mid to late 40s.
45.
45. They made approximately, I think it's common sort of belief is around 1,400 of these. And I believe there was around 340, 330 of them made in pink gold.
Rose, yeah, which is insane.
And only 120, 130 of those have actually come to market.
Yeah.
So that actually is a remarkably rare watch.
Yeah.
It's got all
When
its
you think
hallmarks.
about that, there's 130 that have popped
Right.
up of the billions of people on the planet, and like these little jewels just pop up.
And it goes to show you that it's less than half of those watches have emerged, meaning a lot of the people who have them are keeping them.
Yes.
Right? You know, they're like,
Yes.
I'm just keeping on.
Or they forget that they even have them.
Right.
And like this one, I believe he explained came from Venezuela.
Right.
And there's a lot of, there's a lot of watches down in South America, a lot.
Wow.
A lot.
Yeah,
They're like great ones. Adam gets a lot of stuff from South America as well.
That was a huge market for Patek, I guess for Vacheron as well, but in particular
Yeah.
for Patek as well. I think the movement that you're referring to that has this incredible sound to it is the reference 13-130, which is based on a Valjoux 13. And I love that. That's actually kind of like similar to this. I think this is the base calibers, the 434, which is, I think it's based on a Valjoux 22. But they're just the sound of these movements, the way they feel when you're winding them.
Yeah.
The feel of the pusher when it breaks
Yeah.
against that column wheel. You
Yeah.
know, like they're just so cool. Right?
Yeah, it's just perfect. Absolutely love it.
So we've got two watches here that are extremely relationship based as well. Nayo Yahida, then Brice from Grand Seiko. We've got two watches that you acquired it from two really great friends of yours. Now we're talking about two of the two leading independent watchmakers in the world right now, François-Paul Journe and Regepi. Tell me about the relationship that you have with both of these guys and how these two watches are meaningful to you.
Well, Eric Chang invited me one afternoon to an event at the Journe Boutique, which in all my years of living in Los Angeles and being a psychotic watch collector, resisted going in, and I drove past it so many times, and I would look at the clock on the island of the middle of Sunset Boulevard. We have a big, beautiful clock on the street, and
Why were you resisting?
because I knew once I went in the door, it was gonna really hurt my wallet. So I just wouldn't go. And as much as I wanted to. And took Eric inviting me, and I went, and I was introduced to Laurent, who is FP's brother, who runs the boutique here. And if he sees this, I'm sorry, but he was a total asshole for the first couple of minutes of meeting him. But that's kind of how he is, I've come to learn, and he'll laugh if he sees this.
Right.
But I had on my wrist, we're talking to you, I don't want to talk about watches. And then he looked at me and he saw that I was wearing my Regep watch, and he was like, actually, let's talk about watches. And then, we became very good friends straight from there. And so he was wearing this setup of the Resonance on his wrist with the pink gold and the gray dial. And I said to him, of all the things that I'm looking at, because I was a mayhem in there. There was all these collectors in there. They had watches in that were about to go to auction, and all this. It was like a circus of Journe watches in there. And I was like, I've looked all around in this room, and like, if I'm honest with you, like, the one you have on your wrist is the one that is speaking to me the most. If there's ever a possibility that I could get one, that would be amazing. And it took some time, but here it is. I got one.
Fantastic.
And I've spent a lot of time with Laurent. I've gotten to meet FP and hang a bit, and hope to get to do that more in the future. And I don't know, they just like, Laurent we've traveled together, we've, eat lunch together, we talk he's a part of my life. He's a friend. He was at one of a couple of people that came over for my birthday this year. Like, he's important to me. So that watch is important to me.
That's great. And
he actually lent me his for my wedding to my beautiful wife. He lent me his resonance because he hadn't got me mine yet, and he was like, "You should wear this." So that was, who does that? Nobody does that.
It's interesting to me when I'm looking at this watch because it's the evolution of Journe's resonance, right? Here you've got, instead of 2 barrels, you've got 1 barrel, you've got a differential in the center, which you can see from the front of the watch, and then you have 2 remontoir d'égalités at 3 and 9 o'clock, feeding these 2 balance wheels that are entered into this acoustic principle called resonance. Yeah. It's interesting to me because there is a fearlessness about François-Paul Journe, about discontinuing the past and moving on with the future.
Yes.
As an artist who is so sought after, how do you deal with the idea of not trying to repeat your own greatest hits list?
I just don't think I would be able to, and I don't think he would be able to either. Like, it's just not in my DNA to, you look at, let's be honest, like, for a very, very long time, there was not a lot of, these were not flying off the shelves, right?
Yeah.
Recep the same, he started his brand, no one cared, but he cared. He cared. You can't, what I do, I have absolutely zero choice but to do it, and neither do these guys. And so that's, when I can see that, you can feel that when you look at what they do. There's no one else like them. I like to think there's no one else like me. And we're all extremely confident in what we do, and we are not afraid to take chances and break the molds of what things people expect from us. I mean, why am I going to be an artist and spend my time having people expecting, like, that's so fucking boring. I might as well be a fucking accountant,
I get it.
I can't just sit in a room for the rest of my life and paint one thing. I don't understand how people do that. I can understand if there's like, I understand why it happens, and it's money, which I have zero relationship with whatsoever. I'm so happy to have it. I'm certainly not rolling in it, but I'm able to do what I want to do. And like, I think, that's all that he's ever wanted, and that's all that Recep's ever wanted, and that's all Naoya wants to do is wake up in the morning and do exactly what he wants to do on his own terms. I do that.
Yes.
And I feel very, very lucky to have people in this world that support that and understand it, and what I'm working on next is just wildly different than what anybody has ever seen me do. And I have, of course, in my gut, like, I've got a little nerves about it, but I know that eventually it will find the right people, it'll find the right homes, it'll find where it's supposed to go, because it always does. I'm always being told, oh, it's so different. It's so different than what, I'm like, it's really not that different. If you knew anything about what I do, you would see an evolution. And that's what you see with these guys. It's an evolution.
I don't mean to embarrass you, but you're incredibly successful in terms of your popularity, right? Like, there's
I guess so.
I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but there's like the #1 show on Netflix right now. It's this documentary on David Beckham, and he spends the majority of his interview in front of one of your paintings, right?
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm aware of that.
Okay.
Thanks, David Beckham.
But I think it's important because like people like look at Recep today and everyone wants one of his watches, right?
I mean, it's fucking crazy.
But he didn't sell a watch for almost 2.5, 3 years.
Yeah.
Did you experience something like that yourself? Where it was hard?
Absolutely. I mean, I had my first exhibition when I was 27. Didn't sell anything. An incredible guy named Gil Traub, who was a collector who I had installed some paintings in his home. from a gallery that I worked at. And not just some paintings, like Keith Haring,
Wow.
Kenny Scharf, guys who were like my fucking heroes. And I'm in this house, I'm hanging these paintings, and I run into him on the street, and he says, I'm so sorry I didn't get to go see your show. Came and went, I'm sorry I didn't get to go. So where are the paintings? It's like, they're all in my apartment, bro. Let's go look at them. He came, and he bought 3 of them from me. And then we went to his house that same day and hung one next to all these other works that I had installed by my fucking heroes, you know? And so I kept just getting these little things like that would happen. And it was, you know, $5,000, which felt like, I was like, $5,000, I'm set for life. I had a $2.50 in the morning, and now I'm, you know, I'm rolling in it. An incredible American institution named Edward Albee, who is the greatest playwright in American history, purchased a painting from me in 2001. That was like, I mean, he's a fucking god to me. So just these little things, they keep you going, you know? And I never cared about the money. I just cared about being able to just stay in paint and canvas and paper and India ink and pencils. It's all I needed. You know, where I'm at now, I never envisioned it. I never even, like, I don't want it to stop, but it's never what I wanted. What I wanted was to create. It's all I've ever wanted to do since I was a very, very, very young kid. But no one else fucking listened or believed me. You know, I've told my dad this story, and he's just like, he's like, I'm really sorry. I just didn't know. I wish I knew, because I don't think I could have been able to believe in you, but I wish I at least knew, because I was so secretive about it.
Since young, you were developing that vocabulary, which you're now able to express so powerfully.
Yeah.
Do you find that is what compels you towards a watchmaker like Rajab? That he's
absolutely, right? Yeah. I mean, there's like when I met him, we met. I wrote him an email on his website inquiring about this watch.
Right.
And they wrote me back, and happened to be coming to Los Angeles. And he came over to my house with Annabelle, and we hung out and had coffee. And then, hey, what are you doing later? Let's get a drink. And then it was the next day, hey, what are you doing? And then we ended up spending like 4 days just glued to the hip, getting to know each other, and coming here, and him coming to my house, and him coming out and meeting my friends, and we did, you know, we just had a great time. And I think we both saw our reflection in each other as far as like our core values and what drives us to do what we do, and being independent is a big part of that. I have my allies in this world. He has his allies in this world. Like, he has watch, you know, retailers that he works with. I have galleries that I work with, and great friends that I work with to help me meet collectors and all of those kinds of things. But I own my business, and he owns his business, and nobody is telling us what to do. And that's pretty rare these days.
I think the other similarity between the two of you, you know, and I think what I see, especially in the watches that you've put together here, certainly in the Nayo Yehida, certainly in this, and in the Franz Paul Journe as well, is that, you know, in life there's two types of people. There's missionaries and there's mercenaries, right? And the mercenaries are the guys that are always chasing the coin, but there's never enough coin for them.
No.
Right? And the missionaries are the guys that are pursuing something other than that. They're pursuing excellence.
Yes.
They're pursuing what they hope will be future immortality.
Yes.
Right? And I think that is the other very salient connection between you, Recep, Franz Paul, Nayo Yehida.
Yes.
And I love that about you, dude.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it, man. I really appreciate it. Recep, I mean, he's just getting started. Franz Paul is, how old is he?
Franz Paul is 65.
Yeah, and you look at, I guarantee he still feels inside like he's just getting going.
Dude, he's still working on his escapement.
He's just getting going.
Yes.
And when he's 80, he'll still feel that way, you know? And Recep's the same. Recep's what, 35 years old?
Yeah.
And he's just fucking dunking on people already. Wait until he's 50, 60, 70, like,
Right.
we're not even gonna be able to comprehend it.
I love the fact that, you know, when he talked to us, he was talking about wanting to discontinue Akrivia, because he was like, I don't want to just be known for one thing.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that he's like, I have so many other ideas and I want to pursue them.
And you know what's gonna happen? I hope he does stop it. I've declared I won't do X, Y, or Z ever again. I know many artists, I won't do X, Y, or Z again. But you always go back. You always go back, and I'll guarantee you he'll come back to those watches someday. If he doesn't, he's doing himself a disservice. So if he wants to shelve it, I wouldn't make, Recep, don't make some grand proclamation, man. Just set it aside.
Right.
No one else needs to know. Just put it in your back pocket. Hold on to it, and you'll probably be surprised in, what is this, 2023? 2043, you might be like, shit, I got an idea for the AK-06 that it's time to come back.
Right.
And it'll be right.
When the moment is right, yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, I was so invested in our conversation, I forgot, I don't know if you've noticed, but I'm wearing a lot of clothing that's actually designed by
That's my boy Amiri right there.
So, you know, there's a funny line in a movie where, I forgot what movie it is, but he says, I don't want to be a product of my environment, I want my environment to be a product of me.
The Departed.
The Departed, that's right.
That's my favorite line from any movie.
Jack Nicholson, right? So, tell me about that a little bit, how you've decided in specific circumstances to remake the world in your own image, as with this collaboration with Mike Amiri.
Mike became my friend, not because of his clothes, or we just met. Somebody introduced us, thought we should know each other. And it was just a very organic process, like to do that. We got to know each other, we spent a lot of time together in here, me at his place, because it's very close by, and we were just talking on the phone one day, and I was like, maybe we should just do something. Like, let's just do something. And then we just did it. It just happened. And it was so effortless.
Right.
There was no, again, Mike's an independent guy. He does his own thing. He runs his own company. It's his company. And so we spent enough time together where we knew how each other spoke through our things, you know? And there was like a level of trust there. I sent him some of the works to make the clothes with. And like the first things he sent back to me and showed me, I was like, yes, let's just make those, you know? And he had just like scratched the surface of what he was gonna do.
Amazing.
It was just effortless, the whole thing. I'm pretty selective. Like, I only want to be a part of something that I want to use or have used, or I have a friendship with those people. You know, friends, as you can tell through our conversation, are very important to me. Trust is important to me. It's hard to get. I don't have anything on my list that I want to do, but I'm sure something will come along. You know, I sit back, I do my work, I'm quiet, I stay on task. My task is to paint, and somehow the world comes and finds me and offers me opportunities because I'm willing to let it.
Yes.
I don't chase. It's just drive yourself insane chasing things. It's just such a waste of time. You're not going to get it anyway, so why bother chasing it?
You know, having gotten to know you over the last year and a half, almost 2 years now, one of the things I think I admire most about you is that you truly, from a balance perspective, have your shit together. And I think one of the things that you've achieved in a way that I really admire and I try to bring into my own life is your relationship with your wife. I mean, I understand why you want to be monastic. You know, I understand why you want to be a hermit. When that's solid, nothing else really matters.
Nothing. Like literally nothing.
And I really admire that, you know.
Yeah, she's sitting right over there, and I'm so happy that she is. You know, it's taken me a very long time to find the right person, and I've known some great people in my life, but yeah, it's a feeling like there's nothing better than just knowing you've got the other half of yourself out there. It's pretty spectacular. Second best is painting. Second best.
Okay.
Wife and son, that's like one, I mean, we're all just one thing, you know? But yeah, painting feels pretty damn good. Watches feel good too, though.
Wes Lang, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Wei.